going to be the moderator for this event, and I'd like to start by acknowledging that we meet today on the lands of the Ghana people and pay our respects to their elders past and present. So how we're going to operate this morning's session is our wonderful astronauts, who hopefully will be a little more brightly lit shortly. I'll ask them to very briefly tell us a bit about which missions they've been on. And you can see their names and the list of panelists on the screen there. And after a little bit more discussion, we're going to be throwing the questions open to you, the audience. So there will be 2 microphone runners who will be circulating around the hall. So if you have a question, please raise your hand, try and get the attention of a runner, and I'll be attempting to facilitate that happening as well. So I don't think there's anything else official to say at the moment, except thank you all for coming to this wonderful event. And let's start to find out what life is like as an astronaut. So let's start with Krista. If you would like to tell us a little bit about what you've done in space and what missions you've done.
All right. So my name is Christer Fugelsen, and I'm from Sweden. I flew the space shuttle twice as a mission specialist, STS-116 and 128 in 2006 and 2009. And I was during the assembly phase of the space station, and many things I did during these flights were several spacewalks, EVAs. And today I'm working at the KTH Royal Institute of Technology and professor there and director of the KTH Space Center.
We should applaud. My name is Frank Culbertson. There's 2 types of astronauts I've found. There are those who wanted to be an astronaut from the time they can remember, and others who accidentally became astronauts. I was committed to be an astronaut since I was 13. I served in the U.S. Navy as an aviator and was selected as an astronaut in 1984. I flew 2 shuttle missions, one as a pilot, STS-38 Atlantis, and as the commander of Discovery on STS-51 in 1993. I was in management for a while and was the director of the Shuttle Mir program. When that program ended, I really was not done flying, so I bugged my boss until he gave me a flight, and I ended up as the commander of the 3rd expedition to the International Space Station. We are now on the 53rd expedition, by the way. I retired from NASA in 2002, went into the industry, and I've been with Orbital Sciences, or Orbital ATK, since 2008. I'm the president of the Space Systems Group, which delivers cargo to the space station, builds satellites, and we have a lot of fun. So great to be here. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Chiaki Mukai from Japanese Space Agency, and I'm the one of the first group of the Japanese astronauts. And I'm very much interested in utilizing the microgravity environment for research purposes. So my flight, I flew 2 times in the space shuttle program, 1994 and 1998. Both flights are space laboratory type of mission, which has a lot of technical evaluations, so microgravity science, life science. And by the way, my background is medicine. So I'm very much interested in utilizing the space environment for connecting something similar or different to the aging process. So that's what I do as a research. Also, right now I work for JAXA as a Japanese representative and also the JAXA representative to work on the United Nations Corpus, which is the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. That's what I do. So thank you for having us.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. So my name is Michael Lopez Alegria. As you hear us all introduce ourselves, you'll find out that we have a lot in common with each other, even though we're from a lot of different countries. So like Frank, I was a Navy pilot before I became an astronaut. I flew 3 times on the space shuttle on Columbia, Discovery, and Endeavour. Discovery with them. The first flight was like Chiaki, an international laboratory mission, so we had a module in the payload bay and we did experiments. The next two were ISS assembly missions, like Christer's, so we brought up some pieces to the ISS, docked to it, took the arm, attached modules, and then did some spacewalks to configure it. And then my last mission was like Frank as commander of the International Space Station Expedition 14, so about 10 years ago. And now I'm in Washington, D.C. as an independent consultant, working with both private and government entities to help democratize access to space. Thanks.
Good morning, I'm Dumitru Dorin Prunariu. I'm maybe the oldest one here. I flew into space 36 years ago in 1981 on board Salyut 6 space station and Soyuz 14. Actually, I wanted to fly from my childhood, but I never thought that I could fly into space. And just a hazard changed my path, professional path, from airspace to space. And I was selected for an Intercosmos program in '78. I flew for 1 week in May '81. And then I followed my career as a specialist in this field, and mostly at the international level as first president of the Romanian Space Agency, then representative of Romania to the United Nations Committee on the Peaceful Use of Outer Space. I joined the Association of Space Explorers. All of us are members of this association, and I had the privilege and the honor to be the president of this association from 2011 to 2014. And I continue to work in some very representative institutions connected with space. Thank you.
Good morning, my name is Pam Melroy. My background was as an Air Force test pilot. Came to NASA and I flew 3 missions. I had the privilege of flying with Mike Lopez Alegria on my first flight to the space station, and with Sandy Magnus on my second flight to the space station. So all 3 missions were assembly missions, bringing up 1 or more pieces of the space station, and I was able to command on my 3rd flight. Since I left NASA, I've been working a variety of industry and government positions, mostly focused on the commercialization of space technology. And I plan to move to Adelaide next year.
I'm Sergei Krikalev from Russia. I flew 6 flights. First to Mir station, it was Expedition 4, and then 2 expeditions in 1 flight, Expedition 9 and Expedition 10. Then I flew on shuttle twice, actually 2.5 times, because 2 missions was, first was STS-60, first joint flight with between Russia and US, and second was STS-88, first assembly mission for the space station. Then I flew 2 station flights, Expedition 1, and we flew up on Soyuz and returned back on shuttle. That's why I said 2.5 shuttle missions. And then I was commander of Expedition 11. Since that, I'm in management for a while, as Frank said. I was head of training center in Russia, and now I'm in Roscosmos, responsible for human space flights.
Before I introduce myself, I think Sergey's being very modest. How many days in space?
A little more than 800.
800, little more than 800 days. Very experienced space flyer. My name is Sandy Magnus. I'm the U.S. astronaut. I was in the class of 1996. I've flown 3 times. My first flight was Pam's second flight, STS-112 in 2002. We took a piece of the truss up to the space station and attached it. My second flight was a long duration flight, 4.5 months on the space station as part of Expedition 18. Went up in November of 2008. We were the last 3-person crew, and our job was to prepare the station for the 6-person crew that's currently up there now. My last flight was STS-135, which was the last shuttle flight about 6 years or so ago. I left the office in 2012, and I currently run the organization called the American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics, which is a professional technical society. And there's quite a few AIAA members here in Australia, and it's always fun to come down and visit them. So thank you.
Just before we move on, there's a couple of empty chairs up in the front row here, if anybody wants to come and grab them.